And we're back for part 2 of the locker room. Tonight's topic, punishment in sports. And I'm telling you, this is a very good one for you guys tonight. Basically, we're just to give you a recap, we're basically talking about penalties in professional sports. Are they too soft? And quite frankly, should there be tougher fines and even banishment from some of the sports with our pro athletes out here? Matt and Cal both gave very interesting points of view about this, and it seems like we have a common consensus of there needs to be maybe tougher fines in today's sports. What type of message is this sending to our fans, to our youth, and to the game itself? Is this good for the for our sports here in America? So we're going to go into this next phase of our topic tonight, and we're going to touch on run our test in New Orleans and just kind of be all over the place a little bit. Cal, love to ask you first. Do you think that these situations all have a common theme? I mean, what are your thoughts on just the overall view? Is there something you see that's consistent with this?
I think the one thing that you do see that's consistent among all of them is that they all broke the rules. But the thing is that you see from a lot of the athletes, I don't think I did anything wrong. Ron Artest, with the whole situation of, he kind of played it off as, well, it was an accident. Ndamukong Suh, I didn't mean to step on him. I was trying to get my balance. Well, was that the 6th or 7th time you stepped on him? I mean, the New Orleans Saints, we didn't do anything wrong. Well, then why did you lie about it? Why'd you try to cover it up?
Even more so with the New Orleans Saints and going out of kind of pro sports, but back to the Bobby Petrino situation, which is still fresh on everybody's mind. Well, everybody's doing it. That's the thing with the Saints is, well, every team does that. Bobby Petrino, well, how many coaches actually commit adultery? Well, how many players get in tussles? Well, they're picking on Ron Artest, or they're picking on Ndamukong Suh. They're saying, well, everybody's doing it, not a big deal. Well, it's still a big deal.
And a lot of times these guys, they really relish in being the bad guy. Let's just be honest here. Ron Artest, he's never been a spokesman for Angel Soft here. I mean, this guy goes out, he's throwing bows, he's very violent, he has a quick temper, and then he plays dumb. He acts like he has nothing to do with the situation. I was watching the game Sunday as he walked up to the ref, and he was kind of sarcastically beating his chest as if to say, I didn't recognize my arm going at 100 miles an hour towards this guy's head. I mean, let's just be honest here. What's really going on?
Well, and I think that's the thing that really nobody wants to talk about is, yes, Ron Artest has a history, but this is the one thing, and I found this, guys, and I thought this was very interesting. When Ron Artest in 2008 was traded to the Houston Rockets, Yao Ming jokingly said, hopefully he's not fighting anymore and going after guys in the stands. Well, Ron Artest responded, and I think this is the telltale sign, guys. Tell me what you think about this. He said, this is Tracy and Yao's team, I'm not going to take it personal. I understand what Yao said, but I'm still ghetto. That's not going to change. I'm never going to change my culture. Yao has played with a lot of black players, but I don't think he's ever played with a black player that really represents his culture as much as I represent my culture. So there seems to be this thing with Ron Artest that he seems to think, well, no, this is who I am, and this is normal, and it's you guys seem to have the problem. I'm just, quote-unquote, keeping it real. And if I could sound any more white saying that, I'm sorry, but that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to say, I'm just keeping it real. Well, you know what? You can keep it real on the bench or in the locker room or at home, because I'll be honest, I think that's why the NBA's ratings are dropping. People don't want to see this anymore.
It's almost like everything that we've talked about so far. It's almost like a commentary on society. It really is. How many people, they do something wrong and they don't want to take ownership and they don't want to take responsibility for their actions. And I think that part of it is these pro athletes doing the same thing, just being a commentary on our culture. And then part of it is, how much does culture get from these guys saying, well, these athletes are getting away with it, why can't I get away with it?
I mean, can someone just get a gag order on Ron Artest? I mean, what I mean, this guy, he says the most outlandish things that you can believe. This guy's an idiot. I mean, I'm sorry, but I have no respect for Ron Artest. I think he is a disgrace to the game of basketball. And really, he's a bad role model for our young people out there. I mean, do you want your son and your daughter, coming up through AU sports and they're seeing this guy make millions of dollars, yet he's rewarded by only having to be 7 games?
These guys grew up watching the same basketball that we did and the same professional athletics that we did. Charles Barkley said, "Hey, I'm not a role model. Don't think I'm a role model." So maybe these guys are taking it too seriously.
That's a great point, Matt. But once again, we come to the common consensus. Great person you brought up. Charles Barkley, works for TNT. Everyone knows him. Great NBA career. He gets pulled over for a DUI out here in broad daylight, and we kind of turn a blind eye. This guy straight up says, "Hey, I'm not a role model." Yet, you're put in a position where you're very visible. People hear what you say. You have a voice. It's something to be said about that.
And I think that's the thing that really irritates me, makes me mad, is there's this attitude of, oh, well, I'm a professional athlete. I'm going to say what I want, do what I want, and act like I want. Then when you go, hey, you're wrong. Well, you can't hold that to me. I'm not a role model. It doesn't matter. You're
a role model. You're a person. You're a person.
Yeah, and you're a visible person. You're being looked at. Whether you like it or not, people watch you, and you represent us. It's like TNT. The next time Charles Barkley opens up his mouth and says something stupid, they're going to go, hey, Charles, I don't know if you realize this. You represent this network. And if you want to keep representing this network, you'll be responsible or you just won't be here.
But here's the thing. If TNT, hypothetically, something like that happened, they let Charles Barkley go, ESPN's going to grab him up. Or some other network's going to just grab him up. It's like, well, even with TNT, it's like Marv Albert he's a professional. He's not necessarily an athlete, but he's a professional in professional athletics. He had that situation many years ago that was, really hurt his reputation. Everybody thought he was done when he was an announcer with NBC. Turns around, he's doing just fine with TNT. He's did a lot of NCAA games with the cooperation with Turner Networks and CBS. He does the playoffs with NBA and TNT. He's still doing what he was doing and doing just fine. He's still as popular as ever.
So, with that being said, guys, both of you, Kyle and Matt, great points, So, here's the deal. If you can stay afloat, long enough, you'll get picked up. These networks will turn a blind eye, continue to, feed into your career, and if you can just simply do your craft good enough, it may be good enough to override the things that are going on in your personal life.
And this goes back to what we were talking in the first segment of the show with, could the fines be a little bit higher? Is there something we could do with the punishments? What's to keep some of these professional leagues, the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, from affecting players' retirements or pensions? I mean, I know that could be very detrimental in the future, but that's something, and I know players probably aren't even thinking that far ahead, unfortunately. But what's to keep leagues from using that as a potential punishment?
Well, here's the take on that. It's simple. These players are going to continually do negative things, with soft penalties. If you only tapping a guy on the wrist with a $42,000 fine and he's making $2 or $3 million a year, what more can you expect?
I think the issue really for me is, and Matt brought it up, it's you don't want to hurt these guys and you want to hurt their pensions, but it's not really the league that's hurting them, it's they're hurting themselves. And there seems to be this attitude among a lot of the players that I'll do what I want, when I want, and how I want. And the way I look at it is, you know what, if I was Roger Goodell or David Stern or Bud Selig or any of these guys, and I had a player who said, you can't tell me what to do. You know where you're going to be saying it? Out in the parking lot, because you're not going to be here. And I think that's what it is. This is a privilege, not a right. And we as fans, and I think as the commissioners, we need to take the sport back and say, look, we're not going to tolerate it anymore.
I don't know how well that's going to happen, though, as we as fans taking that over.
Well, there you have it. We definitely have a common theme here in America. Sports in America is very interesting, it's very competitive, but it's also very aggressive. And with aggression come penalties, come fines. You pay up. You have to pay up if you do. As the old adage goes, you do the crime, you do the time. But these players are just these fines may be a little too soft. Well, we're gonna get into our 2 cents basically, and I'm going to get into here like, what were you thinking? And I'm referring to Warren Sapp here. Apparently, the former NFL star owes more than $6.7 million to creditors and back child support for alimony. He filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Look, this is a guy who's an ESPN rep. He's making over $100,000 a month. $100,000 a month. And he's bankrupt. I mean, what does this say about money management in pro sports? This is a very eye-opening for me. And Warren Sapp, what were you thinking?
That's a good one, especially with what we're talking about. My 2 cents going to Matt's version of drops and props. Wanted to give my drop for the week. Going to professional sports again. Somebody that really deserved a punishment and was a little bit overzealous in college, LeGarrette Blount. LeGarrette Blount came out earlier this week, and somebody gave him the proposition of what if his team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, were to draft Trent Richardson, a star running back out of Alabama. And he said that he was totally opposed to that draft pick. Well, LeGarrette, you've just shown how much of a team player you are. And he tried to take it back, to give him credit. He tried to say, well, it was misconstrued what I said. But his initial comments, LeGarrette, you just said what kind of team player you are. That's my drops. My props for the week. I wanted to talk about one of the greatest pure athletes to come out of the state of Alabama, Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson has started an effort here in the state called Bo Bikes Bama. Bo Jackson has basically started a tour with Lance Armstrong and Scottie Pippen and a couple of other professional athletes to basically bicycle their way through the state of Alabama to raise money for tornado relief. Bo can definitely be a very polarizing figure in the state because of where he grew up here in central Alabama and him going to Auburn. But again, he's one of the greatest pro athletes here in the state, and he's using his reputation the right way, raising money for tornado relief. So that's my props for the week, Bo Bikes Bama.
Definitely a great charity, and anybody that hasn't read about it, got to read about it. It's really a great thing that Bo Jackson's doing. For me, I think I'm going to basically do my reality check on this. Adama Kasu, Albert Haynesworth, we've got Ron Artest, we've got New Orleans Saints. What do they all have in common? Well, they all gotten in trouble. But to take it even further, they all didn't want to own up to what they did. Well, here's the reality check. First of all, none of you guys are smart enough to play lawyer with us. So don't try to pretend like you're going to argue your way out of this or find some legalese for what you did. You know what? If you're going to be man enough to commit the crime, be man enough to stand there and say you did it. Don't pull a Ron Artest and go, oh, I'm sorry, it was unintentional. I didn't know he was there. Or the New Orleans Saints, well, we just didn't know this was going on. When it turns out, yeah, you did. Or Adama Kasu going, oh, I was just trying to balance myself. I didn't really mean to step on him. Or we'll go even further. Albert Haynesworth, he finally admitted, but it was only the next day that, oh, yeah, I was sorry, I'm horrible. What I did was disgusting. I should feel bad. You know what? Unless you're going to admit that what you did, if you're going to do that on the field, you're not a man. You're a punk. And you know what? If you're going to be a punk, we're going to treat you like punks. You want to be a man? Stand up and take your medicine. And if I hear one more person say, well, everybody's doing it. Well, you know what? To quote our grandparents, if everybody jumped off a damn bridge, would you do it? That's just my reality check.
And there you have it, guys. Kyle Anderson, reality check.
Everybody's doing it, Kyle.
Everybody is doing it.
Everybody's doing it, you know, and that
everybody's listening to the locker room.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that's what we want everybody to do. Yeah. Exactly. So if everybody does jump off a bridge while listening to the locker room, yeah, that is cool.
Right.
We like that.
Before you jump off the bridge, listen to the locker room, and you can find us on Facebook. Great show tonight, fellas. Punishment in sports. Is it too harsh? Is it too soft? Or is it just right? It's been a great show, guys. We'll see you guys next time. Until then, the locker room.